Hey everybody, welcome to episode 6 of Player 2 Join podcast. I'm Serious Creeper and I'm back here with Nupiet.
Hello.
Hello. And yeah, as always, we're going to talk about the games we've been playing and yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll think of lots of interesting topics and spill off from the
Totally, yeah.
games. It's not like we've pre-prepared this and been thinking
No.
how is the shape of the episode going to pan out or anything like that. It's all just off the
No,
cuff, isn't
totally.
it?
Yeah, yeah. We just started recording.
Absolutely. We've not been waffling for 40 minutes at all. Yeah, well, we're just going to talk about the games that we've been playing. You mentioned the first one you wanted to talk about, which is the game that everyone is playing at the moment, Spider-Man. How everyone
Spider-Man?
seems to love it. It's fantastic. Move on.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's all we can say and go on, right? It's, yeah, that's it. Next. I, weirdly enough, bought it twice.
Weird.
Because I pre-ordered the physical copy and then I realized, wait, but if I pre-ordered a digital copy, I can just play it at midnight that day. I don't have to wait till the morning and go pick it up and blah, 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 blah. And I really wanted to play it, so I did that. And then I figured, well, I have this extra copy now. Maybe I'll just do a giveaway or something of it.
Well, that's a good idea. I like the idea of the giveaway. It's much better than like if you had a friend who was a podcaster who didn't have Spider-Man. It would be silly to give it to him. Wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be stupid, wouldn't it?
Because you'd have to give him a PS4 as well. Is it just Arkham with a Spider-Man skin? What makes it different to why should I play this game? What's so great about it?
It is very much Arkham-like, but as Spider-Man. I mean, maybe I don't play it for the same reason as other people. Sometimes I just play it and swing around for an hour through New York, just doing stuff. I'm like the worst Spider-Man too. There's a lot of collectibles. Like you have to go catch pigeons or find your old backpacks, or that kind of stuff. While they keep telling me, "Hey, someone is stealing this car, Spider-Man, we need your help." It's like, nope, I gotta find a backpack. I'm out of here.
I heard about the backpack thing. Why is his backpacks all over the city? He has to
I
go
don't
home
get
find
it either.
when was he fight? Did he have a different backpack for every villain and the battle took place there and he lost? Why is he always losing his backpacks?
Yeah, he just attaches to them to all kinds of random places and has all kinds of random items in them that you find. I don't know why. And funny enough, I keep hearing people complain about that because apparently his web fluid is supposed to dissolve after 2 hours or something, but those backpacks have been there for years.
It
So
doesn't
it's like,
fit. Right.
it doesn't
Okay.
make sense.
I'm not buying this game. That's a load of crap.
Refund. Yeah, but no, yeah, it's very I mean, the combat definitely is, it's based on that whole, you're surrounded by a group of people, they all kind of line up to punch you, you punch them, you evade them, the usual.
I saw
but,
a cool video that was really analyzing. Was it Spider-Man or was it just one of those fights? Oh, it was watching the Rey and Kylo fight from The Last Jedi, where they're fighting the Red Guards, sort of similar to Spider-Man and Arkham being surrounded. And when you actually watch what each of the guys are doing in the background in these choreographed fights, they're basically just waiting to attack.
Yeah. That's how the games are made too.
It's like the guy who's he's coming forward, he raises his thing and he's like, now I'll attack.
Yeah, maybe they're actually rooting for Ray the whole time or something. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of stuff that hasn't been said. I know it's.
Well, the thing for me is I don't watch any of those reviews, so I don't actually know what's been said. I've been trying to avoid things so I don't get spoiled.
Okay.
Because people like to spoil all the shit all the time.
People seem to be universally praising the movement through the city, the best
it's so good.
Portrayal of web slinging. The combat is kind of fluid and nice.
Yeah, I'm terrible at it.
Right. Is it difficult? Is it hard to...
To me it is. I play on normal and I get my butt kicked.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes they just punch you and half my health bar is gone. I was like, okay.
Right.
But then if you pull it off, it looks amazing. You feel like you feel like a real superhero if you do pull it off. But yeah, there are moments where I die really quickly to people.
Okay, so a bit of challenge.
Yeah, I'm always very impatient. It's all about, evading people and stuff, but there's always this timing of like, okay, I could punch this guy one more time or evade this attack from this other guy who's currently charging me. I usually go for punch the guy one more time, which
Right.
results in me dying. I'm just too greedy. That
You've
kind of
got to
stuff.
know when to back off from the fight and then go back in, and you get into the groove of the it's like a dance. It's like a spidery dance.
It is. And I really make use of all the gadgets and moves I have. I'm like a really lazy gamer usually. Like I like passives, okay? I like passive skills. I don't need a lot of active skills.
Yeah.
I can have one or two that look cool and the rest should just be passive because I don't want to constantly like use different skills or moves and stuff. I'm too lazy for that. I just want to punch a button the whole time and do something. So yeah, it's really like if you use your gadgets though, it's much better, much more efficient.
Cool. So, do you think there will be any point at which this game will become available to like a PC guy like me or
Nah,
an
no
Xbox
chance.
people? So it's a
I don't think
true
so.
PS4 exclusive.
Yeah, I mean Sony has all their hands in there. They're not gonna release that to anyone else. I don't think. Same with like God of War or something. I don't think it's ever gonna come to any other platform.
Right.
I don't think the PS3 Spider-Man has never come out to a different platform as far as I know. I don't think they would do it with this one at all.
Well, that's a shame. I was kind of thinking like a follow up question. This idea of like the Arkham style combat and now Spider Man is following very much in its footsteps. Are we seeing kind of this is the template for superhero games, and we'll see more kind of like we'll see an Iron Man game like this, an open world
Mm.
Iron Man game, or even something like Avengers where you can pick maybe between 4 different characters? That would be cool, and I would hope
Yeah,
that
that could
would
be
be
interesting.
like, oh, I would want to play that. That might be something I had to buy. You know, if they brought out an Avengers game in the Spider-Man style and it was only
Yeah,
on PS4, that would be like, right, I have to get a PS4 now.
right.
But as long as
Yeah, I
it's
can see that.
only Spider-Man that's exclusive, I'm okay. But if more
Oh,
superhero stuff is only
yeah, okay.
PS4, I'm going to be like, oh no,
I mean, the
screwed.
PS4 has a lot of good exclusive titles. I think it's definitely worth getting one.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, if you're just into superhero stuff, it's different. Yeah, I think it also depends on the character, I guess, because like both Batman and Spider-Man are very like hand combat,
mm.
characters. Iron Man would probably not really rush in and punch people too often. I don't know. He usually just shoots his lasers and that kind of stuff and uses tech,
I
doesn't he?
guess.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Something like Captain America would probably work well.
Captain
You
America,
punch him, you throw your
Hawkeye,
yeah, Black Widow.
Black Widow would work. Who
I
else?
mean, Captain America would essentially be the same as like God of War, where like you throw. I mean, okay, Thor would be the same as God of War,
Yeah,
where
Thor.
you just throw your hammer or axe in this case now at people and stuff. But yeah, it's a cool concept. I mean, thinking about this now, yeah, even the God of War combat is pretty much the same as Arkham and Spider-Man now. It just seems to work pretty well. Um, it's almost like a fighting game, but with multiple enemies, right? Like a Street Fighter or something, but you have
Right.
several enemies queued up
You
around
know, I
you.
mean, it's really great. It's a great system, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just no. I
It,
think a few
yeah.
games have tried to do it and kind of fallen short. I can't, and now I'm on the spot. I can't think of examples, but the you know that there's that phenomenon in gaming where a new type of game will come out and you say it's a
Mm-hmm.
clone. Like before FPS was FPS, everything was a Doom clone because
Yeah,
Doom was
yeah.
the example of that genre, and then gradually it morphs into something else. So at the minute, we say anything in this fighting style is an Arkham clone.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this fighting style will, and way of controlling a third person character in an open world will eventually find an acronym, the equivalent of FPS, or
Mm-hmm.
something that we refer to this
Yeah.
style. But it's not quite there yet. The genre's not been around long enough. So we're still saying like Arkham clone.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You don't miss
But
the 60 FPS. It feels smooth and nice to play.
oh yeah, I'm cool with it. I mean, it would be nice and stuff, but no, it's very. I think a consistent 30 FPS is not that noticeable. In some games, it's like they aim for 30 FPS and it kind of fluctuates, sometimes more, sometimes less, and that feels jarring and jittery. But in this game, it seems very constant and it's pretty smooth. I mean, everything looks very fluent. You don't really notice it. Like I haven't even thought about that until you now said that again. And since before it came out, I was like thinking about it. But yeah, no, it's fine. It's
Cool.
totally. It looks amazing. I don't know what people complain about. Um, there's so much to discover in the city. I mean, the city is huge and filled with things. It's crazy.
How do
Um,
things pan out? Like when you walk, I saw some footage of people walking along the streets. How complex can it be? Like the interactions with the pedestrians and things.
Oh, when you're with enemies, your square button is punching. If you're with pedestrians, your square button is like pointing at them, waving to them, talking to them. Sometimes people come over and go like, "Hey, Spidey," and they have a little prompt where you press triangle and you go to them and you either give them like a high five or take a selfie with them or
Oh,
do
do you
some cool
take? I was going to say,
handshakes.
do you take a selfie?
Yeah, it's great. Like I, for the most part, I've been swinging on top of the street, just like from building to building. But then I just went down once, and it's like, God, it's filled with stuff. It's so detailed, and there's so many people running around. This Times Square looks amazing at night. There's all those people, all those lights, all those billboards, everything.
When I saw that, I was immediately curious. Like, how complex are the interactions? Does it feel like because
hmm
something like GTA 5 when you're on the ground, or is it a bit more limited than that? So I was really
Oh,
intrigued by.
it's limited. Yeah, like it's not quite as much. Like you can't hurt any pedestrians, for example. You can't
Right.
really. There are some like newsstand or newspaper boxes, whatever they're called, where you can read the Daily Bugle and stuff and collect them.
Where you can
But
stand reading the paper.
well, it really is just like you use it and you get like a picture of the newspaper with the header and stuff.
All right. I
Um,
imagine
and yeah,
Spidey sort of with the newspaper leaning on the stand, just reading the paper in the street. That'd be quite.
yeah, that'd be awesome. But unfortunately, it doesn't do that. There's like there's like people standing there with signs, like throwing them around to like point at their local shops or whatever to get people to get there. There's traffic jams. Um, of course, there's like the random like people fighting on some sections.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really, and I'm sure there's so much like hidden stuff, lots of Easter eggs everywhere around the town. Um, apparently there's a guy walking around in a Spider-Man suit.
All right.
Like apparently there's one dude somewhere in New York running around in a Spider-Man suit that you
What
can encounter. I haven't found him myself yet. I have found one doing a side mission, but I think there's one that just wanders around through the city in a suit.
in exactly the same suit, or like in a
No,
rubbish facsimile?
it's a rubbish. Yeah,
Right.
it's worse
Okay.
than yours. Yeah, and you get to like choose different suits too. You unlock like different styles, like different suits from all kinds of Spider-Man shows and such or comics.
Well, another thing that happened where the people in the streets and interactions were happening that we should probably maybe touch upon because it's like a big thing and we're always trying to think of news topics
hmm
is the Cyberpunk trailer. Well, it wasn't a trailer; it was a full like gameplay demo. Was it
Gameplay demo, yeah.
about 40 minutes of that? And into I know already that you're hyped for this. You like the genre, and you're
Cyberpunk.
really looking forward to Cyberpunk. But after watching
Yes.
this full gameplay demo, what was your
hmm
overall kind of feeling?
Well, overall it was great. Was pretty impressed. The one thing that I did have a concern was the enemies because they seem very bullet spongy in the demo. I find. Like
Really?
she was shooting, yeah, she was shooting it was like kind of back and forth. Like there were some where they died instantly, but especially at the beginning, she just like dumped two magazines of her like super fast shooting gun on one guy or something. And I am not a fan of bullet sponges. Now it's difficult because it's an RPG, so it has to work a bit different than a shooter game, right? Because you have people with stats, you have people with resistances to certain elements and that kind of stuff. So I get it. There's some element to that, and Fallout and that kind of stuff has that too.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just it doesn't. It never feels good to me, to be honest.
It doesn't to me,
Always.
but oddly enough, I had the exact same thought. But my thought was completely like, oh, that's much better because I'd been watching the trailer for The Division 2. And
hmm
by comparison, I felt like even though they'd improved the time to kill in Division 2, it was still a while. But in the Cyberpunk trailer, I felt like the time. Maybe I think you're technically right. She did dump about two magazines into him, but it happened so quickly. I felt
Yeah, it does
like
happen. Cool.
although they did absorb a lot of bullets, the actual time to kill was pretty short. So I felt like that was okay. Like they weren't too bullet
Yeah,
spongy.
and I do definitely remember like going back and forth on my opinion with that. Like I feel like the beginning was very spill spongy. Then they went forward a bit. They fought a couple of guys. They were pretty much dying instantly, and I was like, oh, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's just a couple of guys. And then a little bit later again, she fought some guys who took way more bullets again. So it's like, yeah, it's an RPG. It's gonna depend on what kind of guns you have, what kinds of levels you fight, etc. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I think
Other than that, I don't know. There's nothing where I'm like worried about anything.
overall, my thought was, as always happens with these games that become super hyped and they're kind of put forward as the next great thing, they occasionally, you see the actual game, and I don't think there's anything underwhelming about the demo. It looked like a really solid game that I want to play and looks fun, but it
Hmm.
didn't look like the next, like the second coming of Christ. It looked like a strong video game set in a cyberpunk world, but because it's been so hyped, I couldn't help but come away from the actual gameplay trailer feeling a little bit underwhelmed. And it's not
Yeah.
because there was anything wrong. It's because you go in with such high expectations. And it's happened to me with movies as well. I
Yeah.
don't, something I try not to do. I don't want to know whether you think it's really brilliant, and I don't want to know whether you think it's really bad. I just want to go and have my own opinions. And particularly with overhyping things, there's almost nothing. If you tell someone that this film is absolutely brilliant, you are laughing every second, and it's one of the best films you've ever watched, you're almost 100% guaranteeing the person you've
Yeah.
told that is going to feel it's underwhelming. And that was my feeling watching the trailer. But having said that, yeah, I'm just full of questions. Like the crowd interactions on street level looked amazing, and I immediately want to know how complex and how emergent can that be. If I decide
Hmm.
to punch a guy next to me, what's the reaction that ripples through the crowd? How wide is that street? How big is that? How many rooms in that building across the road can I actually go inside? I want to know the extent of the world, because
Yeah.
from the demo you kind of got a sense that it was more Deus Ex than
Hmm.
GTA 5. It was more kind of not corridor, but more confined spaces that lead to other enclosed spaces. Even if they're not physically enclosed, they're kind of the boundaries of the world are pretty narrow, but they all sort of lead to others. Or is it
Yeah.
kind of a really open GTA 5 style map where everything is just open? So I have all those kinds of questions, and uh, yeah, the driving. I wonder how extensive that is. Can I drive the car right up to that street scene, and
Hmm.
get out onto the street and then access the road with the car seamlessly, or are the kind of highway bits sectioned off from the bits on foot? It showed a bit where the car drove up to off the highway to a fence, where a gate that swung open. They drove down and they got out of the car, and then there was an interaction with some quest NPCs.
Yeah.
So that would suggest, yeah, it's pretty seamless, but that was a kind of a side bit, and there were only a couple of NPCs there. I wonder how the two sections of the game, the driving and the on foot stuff, connects together. Um, but yeah, overall, I just felt it looked like a really solid, interesting world to explore. Um,
Yeah. It does seem like more like Deus Ex to me than like GTA or something, though. Because like you said, with the driving, I wonder if you can like drive over people or something, right? Um, And I was just thinking there was this one scene where they were being chased or attacked by another car, and they kind of drove off into the side alley, through some of like, I think it was like, I don't know, boxes or stands or something there, while you were shooting at the car. But in that scene, you don't actually control the car. You're just the person shooting out of it. So that's a very scripted event where it goes into those alleys. So I don't know if you get a chance to do it yourself, go down these like passes, like the alleys and I don't know, like pedestrian sidewalks or something.
Right, and from
With your
what I
car.
was reading and listening to, there was they were saying this is quite early on in the game, and this the bot that he got that went up the wall and that you can control is kind of one of the
Yeah.
key things that you have in the game. So this must be quite near the beginning. So it's going to be more narrow than maybe later on in the game. Maybe it'll open up even more. But yeah, I just come away with this kind of thing because it's still maybe 12 months out or even longer. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I just come away with more questions. It answered a lot of questions, but posed as many again that I would really like answered.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, it would be nice to know more about it. It would be nice to be able to play that demo or something at one point at least.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But yeah, a good point of like, yeah, you see her walk to I forgot the dude's name, but her partner, and she walks through a bunch of people through a big crowd. So yeah, it's a good question of like, can you just walk around there? Can you go into completely different areas? Can you explore all these markets that we saw and yeah, go into these buildings and stuff? I mean, even in GTA though, like most of the buildings aren't accessible either.
Right. They're just
So
courts and like forecourts and maybe the like the foyer in a building, but you can't go up into the skyscraper kind of thing.
yeah,
I mean, I don't expect every building to be fleshed out with
yeah, that
every
would be
room
overwhelming.
accessible. That would be insane. But how much is the illusion of freedom there? Like, I couldn't help but think the bit where they deliver the girl who was in the bathtub to the emergency medical team on the balcony, which is obviously a scripted bit. They didn't have full
Yeah.
control there. They kind of backed away into the room. I wonder if at that point they have to get out of the building. If you could go back out onto the balcony once those guys have left and just jump off the balcony, and you
Good
would
point,
hit.
yeah.
Would you fall into the road down below, or is this a kind of an instanced area where you can't do something like that?
Yeah.
I'm interested in the boundaries of the world and what kind of thing they're building. But I mean, the fact that it is the guys behind The Witcher 3 is like, I tend to think it's going to be a lot more open than Deus Ex. I certainly hope so. But whether or
And they
not,
keep saying it's like their biggest game too.
yes, yeah.
Because like even Deus Ex, you were able to do this kind of stuff where you would walk into a building, up to the rooms, and then jump out to the streets again.
Right.
In most cases, at least.
But like you were saying before, it's just going to be nice to have a really fleshed out, well-made kind of cyberpunk game that has the potential to kind of continue, because it's a genre it is there, but it's kind of flying under the radar for such a long time. And you have games like the occasional cyberpunk hit, like Deus Ex, or some of the games. They're all over the place. Yeah. Shadowrun, a completely different genre, cyberpunk, but nothing that kind of hits kind of a mainstream.
Yeah, I feel like it's getting more popular though. This theme, it just seems to be being used more in media now too.
Yeah. It will fulfill the fantasy of anyone who's watched Blade Runner and thought, wow, why don't they make a sandbox game in this universe?
Oh, I watched Blade Runner so many times.
I like the new one as well. I thought the new one was great.
I love it. It's so good. I rewatched it the other day again.
But that might be like the downfall of Cyberpunk in cinema, because it didn't do very well. Like, for the people who want the movies are judged by how much money they make, it didn't do very well at all.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that like it's really popular among fans probably, but not so much among the general public.
But I think the filmmakers, they take some comfort in the fact that the original Blade Runner wasn't a hit in the pictures either.
Right. Yeah, it was the same there too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't what executive thought like we're going to make loads of money off of Blade Runner. What Blade Runner, the film that hardly anyone went to see when it was in the theaters? You're going to make millions off of that? I don't know. But at least they made a really cool movie that's awesome.
Yeah, and to be honest, they made it very I feel like they made it pretty similar to the first one too.
Yeah, I feel
like rewatching the first one like several times, I totally know why people didn't like it, like the general public. It's a pretty slow and sometimes not really boring. I don't know what the right word would be, but it's very
it's okay. It is kind of boring at moments.
It is kind of boring, isn't it? Like there are a lot of parts that are really slow and it drags and it's like I don't know, but you still love it. And maybe you love it for that reason. And the new one had that too. The new movie had these scenes too, where they're really like long scenes of nothing happening. But maybe they just created more of the world, or just give across that same feeling. I don't know.
In game terms, it reminds me of the kind of difference between a theme park MMO and a sandbox MMO. Like a theme park MMO is all about immediate feedback and progress in what you're doing, and the sandpark MMO is more kind of like just settle into the world and let it wash over you, and that's more kind of like Blade Runner. It's like you're not going to get immediate thrills, you're not going to get immediate action, but you kind of, the world just seeps into your skin,
right?
Into your pores. It's awesome. Like it's not many films that I watch these days that kind of feel like they're transporting me, and that one, the new Blade Runner, did what the original Blade Runner did. Really well.
Well, rewatch it tonight probably.
Yeah, I might do that as
like
well.
It that much. But you were saying something earlier about Cyberpunk being with the whole hype thing. I noticed that a lot lately with games and companies just hyping up everything so much.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of like stopped watching trailers and watching reviews and listening to people talk about these kind of things, because like you said, they just they always make it sound so amazing, and then you experience it yourself and it's not quite, because you always like kind of imagine it better than it actually is, right? Because your imagination goes wild and everyone's like, oh, this is the best thing ever. Your expectations go super high, and it just never gets met.
I think there's a weird psychological thing going on there where someone says this is the best thing ever, but it's a really non-specific thing to say to someone. So if you say this is the best thing ever, my idea of the best thing ever is not your idea of the best thing ever. So I will go in looking for all those things that are essential to something being the best thing ever for me, and that may not be what you mean at all. So it's a really non-specific, I don't know how to phrase it really.
Yeah, it's very
an inaccurate
subjective
description of the thing, because you don't know what the best thing ever for me is.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm like usually too, like when people ask me, hey, did you like this or this? I'm like, yeah, I liked it. But like, even if I feel like, oh my God, I'm having the time of my life, doesn't mean they will. Like you asked me if Spiderman is good, I'm like, yeah, I really like it. I think it's really good. But I'm not going to say it's the best game ever made, which certainly it's not. And even if I feel like that way, you wouldn't necessarily feel the same.
I think it's also a good idea to just get the general feeling of people, just take a kind of a general sense of the buzz around something. Is it good? Is it positive? Is it negative?
Yeah.
Nothing to, is it worth me kind of going into this and trying it? And you can kind of get that through just the general, maybe you hear a couple of people talking about it, or you have a look at Metacritic or something like that. It just gives you a vague idea of, is this worth $60 to start you off? And then I think you're best, because I don't know, in my own life, the stuff that I really hold most dear is the stuff that I've kind of discovered for myself. Games that I never saw reviewed and I just saw on a shelf and liked the look of the cover and liked the description. I thought I'd take a try on this game, and those games are ones that I look back on very fondly, and stuff like films that you've not heard or heard very little about, that you feel like you've discovered them and they're your special, precious thing that you hold.
Ultraviolet.
Ultraviolet. Oh my God, that film.
It's my special.
For me, it would be The Big Lebowski. Well, I felt like I discovered that it's if you don't know, it's a
yeah,
film,
I do know.
Yeah,
that's a good movie though.
Yeah, I love that movie.
I think people usually like that one.
But that's also the downside of like these days, everyone talking about something. I discovered that no, I'm not the only one who loves that movie. There's a whole like subculture of people who are into The Big Lebowski, and when I discovered that, I'm like, oh, it's not quite as special now. Everyone thinks it. Everyone thinks it's great.
Hipster feeling. Oh, yeah. This is mine. I feel the same with like Cyberpunk a bit too. Yeah. But like the genre itself, I was like, yeah, I love this. But now everyone likes it. It's like, oh. But you didn't like it 10 years ago. You didn't like it 20 years ago.
You've not read Neuromancer. I read the original.
Well, I didn't either.
I read the original Cyberpunk. I read William Gibson. So. You've never read it. I used to think like that. Not anymore. Yeah. Like the Matrix popularized Cyberpunk kind of a long while ago.
Yeah.
In mainstream huge hit, and that's all just anime cyberpunk in real. Yeah. Real. No, it's not real. It's a film. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. But it's weird because like with Cyberpunk the game now, that I think that's why I'm like trying to like I'm excited about it. It's my favorite genre of game, but I don't feel as crazy hyped about it than people maybe want me to. I know I will love the shit out of this game when it comes out. I don't need to get more excited about it right now, and I don't need to get my hype built up and watch every single video of it and every single review and every single discussion of it. Because I'm already at the point where I will like it, right?
Yes, and we know it's going to be good.
I'm like from an excitement level, I'm currently way more excited about the new Metro game than I am about Cyberpunk. Probably also because I know when the Metro game comes out, Cyberpunk is still whenever.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just like, okay, in the future it comes out, then I'll get excited. But right now I'm like, yeah, I'll like it. I love it.
It did occur to me while I was watching it, like, what is the reason for releasing this behind the scenes demo that's only been showed to people on closed doors? At this point now, when we're still quite far from release, things can change. And why are they choosing to release it? It did occur to me, is this like, it's a very clever company like CD Projekt Red. They're really clever with like GOG and like getting into the zeitgeist of gamers, saying no DRM, and they seem to have the finger on the pulse of what gamers think. And I wonder if this is a really clever attempt to kind of dampen down the hype, because there's so much has been said about the game, but so little has been seen of it. I thought it's kind of that this could be a really smart move at this early stage to really ground people's expectations and say, yeah, it's going to be good, but it's not going to be this amazing religious experience. You think it's a game, and it's a really good game, and here's the game playing, to kind of keep people realistic. I don't know.
That's a good point, because a lot of the reporters and stuff who did get to see it behind closed doors have been hyping it up like quite a bit.
Yeah. And
it would hurt CD Projekt if they would hype too much. That's a good point, yeah.
That might be maybe too conspiracy, maybe too like, I don't know. But it was just a thought that like did skirt through my head, and I thought, well, maybe if a company were to do something like that, it might be CD Projekt.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that could be true.
Okay, well, what else have we got to talk about? I have been playing Doom. After, like, you're really up to date with Spiderman and like the latest Cyberpunk trailer and intelligent discussion on that, and I'm playing Doom, which is a remake, which is a 2-year-old game at this stage and is a remake of a 25-year-old game.
Oh, is it actually a remake? Like, is it like the
No.
same levels remake? No,
No,
right?
no,
It's
no,
like
no.
a spiritual successor or remake. Oh,
Well, a spiritual
I guess you will
successor
call
is
it a remake.
generally not created by the same people.
Right. Trying to think
yeah.
if there's a different word for remake, but I guess it is a remake, isn't it? Or
It's a kind of a reboot, I guess.
Oh, reboot. That's okay.
Yeah.
That was the word I was looking for. That's the one. Yes, reboot.
Yeah.
That makes more
It's
sense.
amazing. It's amazing. It's so good. They got such a great balance of someone who played the original Doom 1 and 2 and wants to play that, but we're in a modern way. So what do you remember? You remember it being fast. You remember it being fun. You remember it being hilarious at times. But like when you go back to those original games now and you play them, it's not as fast as you thought. The graphics and it feels like the movement is really skiddy, and also you can't stuff that's happened in between, like you can't look up and down.
Yeah.
Crazy as that, you can't look up and down.
Do you know why that is?
I just thought it was to do with the limitations of the way it was made.
Well, sort of, yeah. The game is actually 2D.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that.
Like it's actually running on a 2D plane, and they just simulate the look of it depending on where you are on this 2D plane.
Right.
And that's why you can hit enemies like that are further up on platforms and stuff, and you can't aim up and down.
Right.
It's kind of it's crazy, like what they came up with back then.
Right. I see. Yeah, that rings a bell now because they changed that. Was it Quake where they brought in the 3D?
I think it might have
ran
been, yeah.
ran on a true 3D engine. Anyway, yeah, that is how you remember the game. But when you go back to play the original, and it's not quite there, but then you play this, and they've taken all those elements that you want from Doom, and they're in this game. So it feels amazing to play. It feels really cool. It feels fun. The character moves amazingly well. The guns feel really chunky, and the bullet hits and the kind of tactile feedback of playing the game is really strong. So it's just, and because it's so fast paced and kind of single player fast paced campaign, it just feels like different to something that I would say like modern FPS. In a modern FPS, there's a lot of kind of cover. You're moving into cover.
Yeah.
Your
health regen.
Yeah, your health is regenning and stuff like that. So it kind of, I suppose you could say it's an older way of approaching FPS, but it doesn't feel old. It feels very kind of deliberate. No, we're not doing this because it's old and how it was done in the past. We're doing this because it complements this style of gameplay, which is incredibly fast paced, just moving around the arena, shooting shit as fast as possible. And you really feel amazing when you do it in one of these, what they call, to trigger these big fights, generally speaking, you have I can never remember the name of them, but it's like this huge organic thing that you pull the heart out of, and it triggers loads of demons to appear, and then it's on, and the music kicks in, and you're jumping around, shooting things with rocket launchers, and you manage to survive. You feel like a badass. And I just love it. And that's awesome. Weird thing is, like, this kind of game, you think this is all about tension, right? This is about, particularly on the higher difficulties, this is going to be hard. It's going to be tense. This is going to be tearing your hair out. And I think the best kind of compliment or example of how much fun it is that even when you die, I never feel stressed. I never feel tense. I just feel like I'm having amazing fun.
Yeah, it's just mindless fun.
Not mindless. I feel like it's really tactical and really clever.
Oh, okay.
In the way it works. It's just, it never feels tense. It feels fun to do those difficult, things.
Yeah.
Because of the way the character moves and stuff. So it's actually quite difficult game, but it never feels stressful or tense, and I don't know why that is. It's just... Yeah, I can't heap enough praise on this game. It's so good. And it's been a long time since I will play an FPS to have fun. Because usually it's like if you play something like, I know it's not FPS, it's sort of FPS, like a PUBG or COD or Battlefield, my overriding or Battlefront, my overriding feeling coming out of a match of Battlefront, let's use that because it's the most recent FPS I've played, multiplayer FPS. I never felt like de-stressed or I felt stressed. I never felt fully satisfied after a match. I usually felt frustrated, probably because I'm not good enough. But and I never feel that in this game. I always feel like even when I lose, that was fun.
That's cool. I wonder why that is.
I don't know.
It's also like, I guess it's like immediate action, and you're kind of like a powerhouse compared to everyone else in that game, aren't you?
Yes, you feel like, and it's designed in such a way. This was not a factor of the original Doom mechanically, but it emerged when you would play the original. So you would kind of storm in, like you would like get angry or something and just charge at the enemies, and through skill you were able to destroy them. And they've kind of built that into this game, so it rewards you for kind of moving forward and attacking rather than finding cover, running away. When you kill an enemy, they drop health, so it incentivizes you to move forward into the fight. And like a number of occasions, you're kind of in that situation where you've got 30% health left, and under normal circumstances in any sensible game, you would be running for cover, looking for health. And actually, the thing that you need to do in Doom is attack and kill something, and then you get the health back, and suddenly you're on a roll. You've come back from being on the back foot by moving forward, and it's those kinds of design decisions that are dictating how you play the game, which is so different to other FPS.
Yeah.
You're not looking for cover. Like, get up in the enemy's face, kill it, and then you get the health and you can move on to the next one. Or it's really good.
You get these like finishers or something, right? They give you stuff.
Yeah, they call them glory kills. And that was not in the original game. And doing a glory kill forces the enemy. It looks really cool. Forces the enemy to drop more health. So you want to try and get them if you can. They'll drop health anyway, but if you can get right up there and smack them in the face, you get more.
And it looks cool. It makes it feel cool. And you have that cool metal soundtrack in the background just pumping you up.
Oh, wow. Like, I don't know if I've mentioned on the podcast before, like, I love game soundtracks. I have game soundtracks on the hard drive, and I listen to them for my own enjoyment. But sometimes I found them in games a little bit distracting or overbearing, in that they're not really tied to what's happening in the game. It's just this track in the background playing. But with Doom, you definitely feel like almost that the game, the music is not settled into the background, like kind of it's going on. It really dictates the kind of mood of the game, and it will cue you like it's about to kick off. The music kicks in, and that changes the way you play. You suddenly play more aggressively, or you play more. You start moving faster because the music's faster. It's awesome. Reminded me, like we were talking before the podcast, about enjoying games again and not worrying about posting things on YouTube. But I think this is the best example of a game that kind of typifies that for me. It's just like pure enjoyment of playing a video game, and this is why I play games. And it's weird because it's an FPS, which is not a genre that I go to for that kind of affirmation, but it's almost like it's reminding me why I play games in the first place.
Nice.
So it's amazing. It's amazing. So if that isn't overhyping a game, I don't know what is. So if you play it now, you are bound to be underwhelmed by it.
I'll hate it. Well, ironically, I have it on my list of like games to let's play, and I've had the game for, I think I bought it on release too, and I just never played it for some reason.
Well, I've gone through on normal difficulty, and I'm just recording an ultra violence run through. Nice. So if you fancy watching some, I think that'll come out on the channel once I've done it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Here's an odd question, Dad. So this is by id Software.
Yeah.
Now, I played Rage recently, which I still haven't finished.
Yes.
And which is also by id Software and Bethesda. Same as this one. Is also published by Bethesda, Doom. One thing that really surprised me now, id Software was always, I feel like, one of the pioneers of like PC gaming, and just having really what do you call it, like really good graphics, or really good technology, or um, I don't know, that kind of stuff. One thing that surprised me on Rage is the options for graphics settings were really reduced. Like there was barely anything you could change for, like when it comes to graphics settings, for quality, for FPS, for FOV. The
Oh,
game ran like shit unless you like patched them or changed configs manually, or downloaded the id Software config tool or something to modify things. Do you know like how, is there like a lot to edit to change the option, the graphics and stuff in Doom, or is there also
yeah.
like not a lot of options?
I think pretty much everything I think was there that you would expect. I didn't look at it
Yeah,
and think like anything was missing. So I don't know what that is about Rage. That's weird.
yeah, it really surprised me.
But that's kind of weird in that I think Rage is kind of a weird case because it was. I don't think it was particularly like it wasn't a huge hit or anything. It's not a bad
Mm-hmm.
game, but it wasn't a huge hit, and I think it kind of came at a stage for the company where they were in between projects. I think they'd been working on. I think it was Doom 3 actually, and which is kind of was a bit of a departure from the Doom series. It has its
Yeah,
fans and it's pretty well regarded, but it was more like confined, more like an Aliens corridor shooter. Um, and I think the company had been working on that, and then they decided. Someone at the company just came up. This is all based on a documentary I watched, but that someone came up with like this weird post-apocalyptic sort of Mad Maxian style idea, and they just ran with it. But I don't think it was kind of coming off of one project and then thinking about what the next project is.
mm-hmm.
And someone just came up with this idea for Rage, and they ran with it. And then, so I don't know
Yeah,
if that sort of speaks into that. Maybe it wasn't as high a priority as it might have been. And I know that the company went after Doom 3 experienced lots of shake-ups and changes. Like they lost some key id people, like the founding members kind of moved on and
I
stuff. So
see.
so it's
So there might not even
very,
be that many there anymore
yeah, there's a
of the
couple
original
left,
team.
but like they were like rock stars back in the day,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and those guys are not with id anymore. So the id of today is not the id of yesteryear. It's a
yeah,
different team
interesting.
almost entirely. So yeah, there's tons in there, and runs fine on my sort of middle of the road PC. I don't have the best graphics card. You got a 1080 now, so
Yeah.
it'll run like butter.
Oh yeah.
Actually, this ties in pretty well because we've talked about Doom, which is a remake
So well, yeah.
and or a reboot, and you could talk about Tomb Raider because that's an updating of a franchise.
Who transitions? Speaking of remakes,
Nice,
that's a
I like
terrible
it.
transition. Yeah, I've been playing Rise of the Tomb Raider as well.
Right, cool.
Yeah, because the new one is coming out, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It's actually out now if you pre-ordered, which I have. It's sitting in my Steam library. I see the little play button on Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but I haven't finished Rise of the Tomb Raider yet, so I'm trying to finish it up. I think I'm like halfway through that one right
Wait a
now.
minute. So the new game, it's on pre-order or it's out
Yeah,
already?
so it officially comes out on Friday, the 14th. Yes, the 14th. But if you pre-order, you get a 48-hour early access.
Because of course you do.
Because of course you do. And I was like, yeah, I want to play it earlier. And I was expecting to have finished Rise of the Tomb Raider by now, but because I'm recording it and because I didn't have time much because of work and stuff, I just haven't made as much progress as I would have liked. And I've been doing the same thing you've been starting to do with more time and stuff, where you pre-record the entire game before even releasing an episode.
Yes.
which is so weird to me, man. I still can't get used to it.
Super weird.
Every day I'm like, oh man, I have like these 25 videos here. Maybe I should just start releasing them, because by the time I finish it or they all come out, I should have finished it and blah blah blah. But no, it's an experiment. I need to I need to finish this game.
Stick with it. See how it works. You need to complete it.
Yeah. And I think once it's done, it's nice too, because then you have like a bunch of videos just doing their thing while you play other things. And that's kind of the goal. Like, I'm trying to finish Rise of the Tomb Raider and then start recording Shadow of the Tomb Raider and do the same thing. Play through the entire game before I even start releasing it. Originally, I was thinking, well, I should probably do it on release day and stuff, but for potentially getting more views and stuff. But really, it never happens, because every big YouTuber is going to do this.
Right. If we're talking about the YouTube game, that's just not going to work.
It's not going to work. You have to be big to compete with these people, or be very, I don't know, like very niche, I guess. If there's a problem or some people have problems with something, you make a video about how to do this, blah, blah, blah. That kind of stuff can lead to people finding your stuff. But if you're just let's playing, I don't even have to try. So I figured, okay, well, there might be, maybe there's 1-2 people on my channel who would want to watch me play through this, whatever. But they can do it in a month too or something if I played through it and finished all the videos. So yeah, I'm going to try this. But yeah, we're playing Rise of the Tomb Raider. I did play the first one, that's just called Tomb Raider, the reboot, when it came out back then. I did stream that one, so I don't have a series of it, but I really like the concept, or the new what do you call it? I guess the new mechanics of that game, the new reboot, the way they did it. Way more, I guess, cinematic and very similar to something like Uncharted, which is one of my favorite game series as well. Rise of the Tomb Raider is pretty much the same. It's since I haven't played Tomb Raider in so long, the other one, it's hard for me to compare to that one. But I feel like this one is a bit more, it's bigger, and it has, it kind of has that like same system as like Assassin's Creed or the Spiderman games or something like this, where you have a lot of side content that you can do in the same area. Like, I spent several hours in one area just doing side stuff, collecting stuff, unlocking things, doing side quests, stuff that does not give you any progress in the main story whatsoever, and you spent your entire lifetime in that one area redoing stuff.
Right. More open than the previous one.
It
just feels
seems
bigger.
more open. It does. There's more people just in general. Like, in the first one you had like some key people, but in this one you have like there are some like natives. They have a camp, a whole group of people that you can talk to and chit-chat with and get quests from, so it's quite different in that regard. But it's very similar. I mean, the way they have weapon upgrades and stuff is slightly different. There's an in-game shop now where you find these ancient coins and you buy some upgrades for your stuff. But other than that, it's very similar from the core mechanics to the first one. And I'm gonna assume that the Shadow of the Tomb Raider is gonna be very similar to those as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a fun series. I love this stuff, and I actually really like the exploration and, well, the tomb part of this game and the raiding part of this game.
The thing that appeals to me the least, and probably the reason I haven't jumped onto it at this point, is because the bit of Tomb Raider, the original Tomb Raiders, from back in the day, the early 90s, mid-90s, is that the combat was very, very sparse. It was very kind of, there was a lot of exploration, climbing, tomb raiding. And then occasionally you would fight a T-Rex, or occasionally you would shoot a guy. But these games, certainly the trailers, they all seem to just focus on the combat, the action. And that was not why I played the original Tomb Raider. So I never jumped on with these reboots. But you're saying there's a lot of
so you're saying you did like that there were only sparse enemies.
Right. That was what I mean, the stereotypical bit that I remember in the original Tomb Raider that blew me away back in the day was this bit where you were swimming down through the waters into the deep area, and these statues that had been like buried for thousands of years, consumed by water. They just
Hmm.
loomed out of the darkness, and you were, oh my god, this is amazing. These sort
Yeah.
of grand ancient civilizations that you were exploring, and the puzzles and figuring out how to get to where you needed to go. That was Tomb Raider. Whereas when I watch the trailers for these remakes, it seems to be shoot shit with
Yeah. Yeah.
guns, stab people, run away, get injured. But so I'm interested to know how much
Hmm.
exploration
Hmm.
there is.
Yeah, yeah, I'm the same. I'm totally the same. I like the exploration stuff always more than the combat and stuff too. And there definitely is more combat in these. You encounter more enemies, but there's a pretty usually there's a pretty long time in between sections where you have to fight someone. So, you might encounter a new area. There's a bunch of people. You take them out, and then you have like probably a couple of hours or so before you meet other guys again or something. Um, they do respawn a little bit in this one because it's like more open world, I guess. You revisit older areas a bit more often than in the. I think I don't, well again I haven't played the first one so long, but I don't remember revisiting the same area many times. Um, there was this one part in the first one that I still remember. So I played the first one with a controller, and I'm
Hmm.
kind of playing the second one with a controller, but I think I'm gonna switch to mouse and keyboard soon. And there was this one part where you get thrown into this camp, and suddenly everyone knows you're there, and they immediately attack you, and you have to fight your way through. And it took me 5, 6 tries. I kept dying over and over and over again. So I then switched to mouse and keyboard for that one section because my aim was so shit with controller that I just couldn't beat it. And then I beat it, but it was, yeah, that one was a bit like not so great. Luckily, that hasn't happened in this one so far. And usually, most enemies, at least early on, die in one shot if you like, aim at the head or something. Most of the time, I use my bow because I love the bow, and the bow feels really great in this game.
Hmm.
But yeah, there's always like these like heavy guys, right? Like guys with a shotgun and they're in full body armor that you have to shoot off or something. So there is definitely some fighting going on. But I don't think I don't think it's nearly as much as the trailers usually make it look like. I
Yeah.
think the trailers just want to demonstrate the action a lot, but uh, it always tends to be like this more towards the end of those games. I think like the end part of the game is always a big fight. I think, which is yeah, I'm not too happy about it either. But
Yeah, and it is hard to express kind of the grandeur of exploring ancient
yeah,
tombs in a 90
yeah,
second
it's like
trailer.
look at me walking around.
Look at me looking up at awe and at a statue. Yeah, that's not a compelling trailer. I kind of get that, but
Yeah,
yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it, and I'm glad they rebooted it, and it seems to be doing pretty well. I did hear a
yeah,
thing like some kind of crazy expectations for sales that the original didn't meet, but the
ah,
expectations of the company seemed so huge.
hi, yeah,
It's like, wow, okay,
yeah.
like 30 million sales is pretty good, guys. Maybe it doesn't need to sell 100 million. I don't know what the actual figures are, but you know.
Yeah, they usually aim for way too much, I feel like. But yeah, no, I think it's a good series. It's a really good reboot. It definitely needed that because the latest 3D Tomb Raider games before that reboot were not so good,
No.
to say it in a nice-ish way. Um, but yeah, I mean, this one especially, there are tons of tombs and stuff to explore, and they're very impressive looking ones as well.
Cool.
You enter and you see these giant structures, and you're in awe as well. It's one thing I noticed though, it's very glitchy, the game. I don't know why.
Ah,
I'm playing it on PC. I run into a lot of glitches. Nothing game breaking really, but sometimes just Lara getting stuck in her jump animation and floating around, or you have these like ice pickaxes on your side. They spaz out and fly above my head, or like attach to walls or something at random times. Like just some really weird stuff, like glitching through walls, etc. So it does take away from the immersiveness quite a bit. And I kept looking it up, see if there's any fixes for these, and it sounds like that it just got worse over time. Like during launch, apparently was fine, but then later the updates and stuff, they kind of broke things a bit more.
Oh,
I don't know
jeez.
if
That's
that's
the
true,
wrong way
but
around. It should work the
yeah, right.
opposite way around.
It's like add more stuff.
This game's
And
great. Let's break it.
yes, and it has like well, it's always like this stuff. Like it has an in-game, or it has a like a loot box store where you can buy loot boxes with real money, and you get these card packs. And card packs usually have some challenge cards or something that are used for like there are some challenges like I don't know if it's multiplayer, but like this some like you survive so many waves and
You buy
um
cards to play challenge mode.
well, you can play the challenge mode anytime, but these cards they modify how the game works.
Yeah.
So you can have a card that says you can only use your bow, and when you use that card, you get like plus 300% more score or something. So it doesn't really affect it too much. It just gives you a better score or something. But I haven't really looked into these. Like I think they call them expeditions. They're like little side mini game modes or something. I haven't really looked into those. I'm not too interested in that. Um, I just always think that's a bit odd. And then of course like a lot of DLCs where you get like I have because of the season pass I have all the DLCs ever released, so I have like a ton of outfits, which is cool, but some of these outfits give you like bonus stuff, like you get more rare materials or something like this. And I always feel a little bit iffy about these because I want to like earn that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't just want to get it. Same with weapons. Like I unlocked a pistol and suddenly I have like 5 pistols in my inventory.
And you're going to use maybe one of them.
I'm gonna use the original one, the one I worked for. I
Yeah.
don't want the other ones,
Well, it's not
the
just me
cheaty
then.
guns.
I always feel like that. I feel like who the hell is buying this shit? Because I don't want it,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
kind of like, yeah, exactly the same. I haven't worked for it. It's not as cool as the original, which I found all the mods for during gameplay.
yeah.
Why would you want to use something that you just got out of a gift basket? It's weird.
Exactly, especially on the first playthrough and stuff. Yeah, so that's always a bit of a shame, and it's gonna be the same in the next one too, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Like I'm just looking at my Steam list because I bought that like deluxe edition or craft edition or whatever, the most expensive one, because I want I want the DLCs that give me more content gameplay wise. There was a DLC in the one I'm currently playing, Rise of the Tomb Raider, with Baba Yaga, where you go do little side quests with the witch of Baba Yaga or the witch Baba Yaga. But it comes with all these other things too. You can't just use the story mission and not use all the other outfits or whatever. I mean, you can decide not to use them in game, of course, and that's what I've been doing. I'll just have them in my inventory and not use them. But yeah, I never understand that. It's like, why do people really want all this stuff? I mean, I'm looking at this right now. I have the skill booster pack, for example, so I'll start out with more skills than usual. Tunics, some weapons, robes, a bow, explorer outfit, pistols, another bow, like just all this extra stuff that I'm like, I don't know. But
No, it never seems
yeah.
particularly of value, and that's why in the past I've kind of felt like the whole controversy with loot boxes and things like, oh, that doesn't affect me because I'm never tempted to buy that stuff
Yeah.
anyway. I just don't buy it. But I kind of changed a little bit in that I feel like actually it does have an effect, because if you are holding stuff back from the game, or you're artificially kind of slowing down the progression in the game in order to sell kind of loot boxes, you're making the base game more grindy in order to incentivize people buying loot boxes, then
Yeah.
that does affect me. Even if I don't buy the loot boxes, I'm playing a more grindy game. So um, kind of I am always a little bit interested now in like, what are they trying to achieve with these loot boxes? What is the point? Like, and loot boxes for a single player game, it just seems still strange to
Hmm.
me. Like, I can see why you would want a competitive edge, even though that's a bad thing in multiplayer. But so you can sell, in the most egregious case, sell a stronger gun, and people need to buy that gun to be competitive. But in a single player game where it doesn't matter, you're not competing against anyone, The only way you can incentivize people to buy loot boxes, I imagine, is to kind of hold things back from the game and mess with the game so that people buy them. I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels
It would be so much
iffy.
more fun if if you could unlock these extra, weapons and stuff just in game by doing challenges or tombs or whatever.
Right, because that's content. That's like
Yeah.
turn that asset into content. So just tell
Mhm.
you right, okay. Instead of buying this for $5, even if it's grindy content, say do this dungeon five
Yeah.
times and then you can have it. Because that's
Yeah.
incentivizing me to play the game that I've already spent money on more. But I
Mhm.
guess then the developers, well, I don't guess, I know the developers don't get any extra money for that. So
Well, yeah.
that's the reason that doesn't happen, and you get loot boxes instead.
Yeah, it's
But yeah, it can go kind of out of control as we've seen this year with some games. Was it this year or
yeah.
last year? Was Battlefront 2? I think it was
I don't
2017.
even remember. I think it was last year, right? Yeah, Christmas
Yeah.
or something, November. Yeah, so that's always a bit of a shame. I mean, in Rise, for example, I decided to use some of the outfits, because it's like, okay, I just want to play through this game at this point, so I can start the next one. And but I do always switch back to like outfits that don't give me any bonus stuff. Definitely not using those weapons though, but yeah. But you mentioned, for example, the combat stuff. So one thing I'm really excited about the next one is that they split up the difficulty between combat, exploration, and puzzle.
All right.
So if you like exploration and puzzles to be difficult, you can do that and then just set the combat difficulty to easy.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and they modify like different things. So for example, trying to see if I can find this again. I had like a list of all the difficulties, but
I'm wondering how that even
uh,
works. Like
yeah,
more difficult puzzles, because the puzzles that I'm thinking of are kind of structural.
right.
So how would you change
So
the layout of a level in order to make it more difficult? Like kind of.
So it's actually not changing the puzzles, I don't think. So looking at the list here right now, there's 4 difficulty modes, although in the puzzle one there's only 3. There's something like a deadly obsession mode, which I think you unlock after playing through the game once. But like if you have it on easy, you get like hints on the puzzles. You get,
Oh, okay.
like in Arkham Asylum or something, you have this bad vision where everything like glows and you know what's interactable and stuff.
Yeah.
In Tomb Raider, they have that too. It's called survival instincts. So that one would like highlight which objects are interactable, that kind of stuff. On hard mode, then for example, you don't get any tips. Survival mode doesn't work at all. And if you have like puzzles with timers, like you pull a lever and you have like 5 seconds to run through the door, that kind of stuff is reduced. So in that case, that's what changes. You don't get as many hints or tips or something. You have to figure it out just on your own a bit more.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like to sliders for different aspects of the difficulty. I can't think of any game I've played that kind of did
I know the
that.
Thief game, the newest one, has that.
Ah, okay.
It lets you modify quite a bit actually, which is really cool.
Interesting. We are living in interesting times.
Sure.
I was
At
reading.
least when it comes to games.
Yeah, I was reading an interesting thing, an article today in the Times, or a pretty well-respected newspaper, about
Uh-huh.
an exhibition in London about how games being overlooked as an art form. Which I was
Mm-hmm.
in, it's an exhibition that's on at the moment, which I'd quite like to go and I would go and see if I was closer to London, but um, and that whole thing, like complexity of games is changing, but I wonder if acceptance of kind of games as an art form is increasing. How do you kind of get a sense of that, like working in the industry? Like, how is it still a thing? Like developers feel undervalued, like the games as a medium are not taken as seriously as things like books and movies and stuff like that.
Pooh, I don't know. Because I don't really work on big titles. I work on mobile games, so it's a totally different market.
Yeah.
Mobile games is like money grab market, which definitely doesn't make you feel valued at all. Um,
But you must have talked to other people, like other developers, other people who make games and things. Do you have a sense of like how people feel about the industry or what they're doing?
Uh,
Do people think I am creating art, or do they think I'm looking to make money? How can I make money, kind of thing?
I don't know. That's a difficult thing to answer. I feel like it just depends on the developers and stuff too, right? Like, I mean, one thing that always sometimes is being like overlooked a bit is that this is a business. People have to make money.
Right,
There's often people saying like, "Oh, why did they do this? Why don't they just do it for the fans?" Or like, "Why isn't this for free? Or why isn't this cheaper?" It's like, well, they still have people to pay. It's still a business. You're still trying to make money.
right.
It would be great if we lived in a world where you don't have to do that, but that's not what we have. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like developers mostly see things as art, but I don't think the general public sees games much as art. Still more of a waste of time.
I think as more people grow up who've played video games, appreciated video games,
Mm-hmm.
that is changing and will change. One of the things that frustrates me the most is just the mainstream media's
Yeah.
portrayal of games and understanding of games. Coverage is generally written by people who aren't gamers and
Yeah.
have never, certainly if they've played a game, it's something that's now irrelevant. It was 20 years ago. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
you get this very patronizing, overbearing sense of someone who thinks this is beneath them. I know that's not always the case, but there's no doubt in people's minds anymore that a movie can be an art form. That's the kind of
For
the
sure.
prevailing wisdom, that a movie can be art. Whereas I think that there's still a lot of convincing to be done that games can be art. But
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe that doesn't seem like it's like a no-brainer to someone who's into games. But to someone who isn't, trying to I would say Doom, that I'm playing at the moment, is a work of art. It's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. But trying to convince a mainstream journalist that Doom is a work of art, I wouldn't know where to begin, but I feel it. And art is about what you feel. It makes me feel things and it makes me appreciate it in a very kind of visceral way. This is making me feel emotions. It's giving me joy. It's giving me pleasure to take part in it.
Yeah.
And that is what good art does. It affects you and makes you think and makes you appreciate it. So that criteria, I say, like, yeah, that's a work of art.
But don't you know that video games are evil and make you stupid and aggressive?
Yeah, well, if that, yeah, because the whole argument is, yeah, because you are an active participant, they're more dangerous than a horror movie or something like that. But
Mm-hmm. That's what people say who don't play video games.
yeah, I mean, if that were the case, I know there are some tragic examples of people who've been influenced by games to do bad
Well,
things, but there are also people who've been influenced by movies to do bad things, and they're in the minority. It's like, I'm not gonna go out and shoot everyone in a supermarket because I've been playing Doom. I know it's a game. I don't physically have a shotgun. I'm not
yeah.
shooting at the screen. I'm tapping a keyboard. There's a disconnect. It's not
And those are usually people who already have that issue in them.
right. It kind of triggers something that's already there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um, and any medium can do that.
for sure.
The
Yeah.
the only difference I can see is that games are in some way interactive and you are an active participant. And I don't think that makes any difference to how
I mean,
influenced
it's
you can
always
be.
been the case. There's always someone they blame, right? Like before games, it was movies. Before movies, it was probably rock bands. Before rock bands, it was books. Like it's always
Right.
whatever the latest media is evil.
Lady Chatterley. Have you heard of that book, Lady Chatterley's Lover?
No, I
A
don't.
famous classic English novel that was considered far too damaging and risque. It's about a middle class, an upper class woman who has an affair with her gardener, and it's a passionate book that describes everything in detail. And it's like, yeah, we must ban this book.
How
So,
scandalous.
scandalous. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, but maybe,
Whatever.
you're probably right. Like, after a while, the old people die out, the new comes in, they know the games. Eventually, it's not going to be as bad. But then we'll have something new that we can complain about as old farts.
Yeah. It'll be, I don't know what it'll be for us. Maybe when VR gets its act together and it's actually good. That'll be the thing that we're complaining about. No, it's too realistic now. It's okay
I
while it's
can't
really
complain about it
shit.
though. I have a VR headset.
Why? Why
That
though?
would be hypocritical.
I'm still like, no, this is not worth it. It's not
Have you
worth it.
tried it?
I know it's not worth it.
Have you tried it?
That's not the point. I know it's not
No,
worth
it
it.
is. It is a big point because
What am I
there is
gonna?
a huge difference between having tried it and not having tried it. It's weird. Like the first time I tried VR, I'm like, this is something else. As shitty as it still looks, I mean, the resolution is still not great, obviously.
It
But
just
it gives you, if you talk about art and like giving you feelings and stuff, that is, you do feel like you're in a different world, and it is quite different on your mind the first time too. Just being standing in this virtual world and everything around you is not realistic, but it's like different. It is a weird feeling, man. Everyone that came over to my place and was like trying it for the first time, they had the same experience. It's
they
so
came
weird.
away feeling like this is awesome.
Yeah,
Or
they're like, this is something I have never experienced. Like even with like 3D movies, that's not even close to what feels like. The
okay.
fact that you're standing in this world and you can interact with it and everything is strange.
You're right. I haven't tried it. But the thing is, you have to see something on a flat screen, admittedly, a representation of what you can expect before you have the headset. So, in my defense,
Yeah,
although I
yeah,
haven't invested,
I get that.
it's not because I'm just an arsehole who doesn't like new things. It's because I watch the videos and I feel like, man, that looks lame. I can't move around where I want to move. It's all these gimmicky games where you're kind of static in a room solving puzzles. Oh, screw
No, you
that.
can walk around.
We can't like you have to jump from point to point, like teleport and stuff. And I always
No, you
think,
can walk. In depend. Well, it also depends on if it's like the Oculus Rift, for example, or the HTC Vive. But like HTC Vive has the room scale where you have an area in your room that you can walk around in.
oh,
Like you
okay.
can actually physically walk around things. Obviously, eventually you run out of the place or run into walls, so you have to. You are limited in how far you can go, but of course you can. Yeah, you can move around. You can crouch. You can lean around corners.
How
If you
would it
play,
work in like Fallout 4? If I want to run
yeah. So
from Sanctuary to Red Rocket.
well, right. So in Fallout 4, you can choose how you want to move. You can do the teleportation, which is something being used for like Oculus. I don't think Oculus Rift has the thing where you can walk around. I'm not sure. Maybe it does. I haven't tried it myself. But the way I played is like it's like how you would have a controller. You hold forward and your character moves, right? That's how
Okay.
you like move your entire character across like a long distance. But if you don't touch that and you're standing in a room, you can still walk around in that room yourself
Hmm.
and look around, crouch under the desk, or go behind something and take it and stuff. But only within this like this square that you have available.
Okay. Does it feel
Yeah.
intuitive then? It doesn't feel like. Do you have to become acclimatized to kind of the area around you that you're going to be able to affect, and beyond a certain point, there's no point going over
Um,
there.
it takes maybe a little bit at the beginning, but you actually get used to it really quickly. And with the HTC Vive 2, is like if you get too close to your boundaries, it shows you a grid of saying like, oh, here's your boundary. Don't go
Okay.
beyond, or you may hit something.
Good to
Um,
know.
but you get pretty accustomed to it. Yeah, you also always see like little. If you look down, you can see kind of like the center of the room too, so you know where it is in relation. Um, the thing that takes a while to get used to, at least for me, and I'm still not used to it, is like walking your character with the controller while you don't walk yourself.
Well, that's why I was saying don't you have to teleport, because they were saying there's this thing of like moving when you're not moving. That's like
Yeah, some people.
gives you sickness and possibility of.
Yeah. People can get motion sickness from this. I get some of it after a while.
Hmm.
I'll get a bit sick. Most people, or like a lot of people, don't.
Okay.
It just really depends on the person. But if that's the case, you have the option to do the teleportation. I only get sick if I'm doing it standing though. I played it like sitting before and then walking around and stuff. And that was fine. But like when I stand and I walk around like that, like holding the controller forward or something, I do get dizzy after a while.
Well, you've changed, you've made me think I need to think again, because I was
Okay.
feeling like it's done. It's another flash in the pan. Like they tried to bring it out in the late 90s with freaking Lawnmower Man. Everything looks shit. And then they
No,
tried again, and
yeah.
it's kind of it definitely. I think a lot of companies, like for instance CCP, the maker of Eve,
Yeah.
have just been bought out by another company, like a big MMO company, and I think a lot of that is to do with their heavy emphasis. They really jumped on the VR bandwagon,
Hmm.
and they invested heavily in VR, and it kind of hasn't panned out as big, and they got into trouble. That's a
Yeah.
kind of anecdotal overview. Well, that's an opinion. It may not be the
Right, right,
case,
right.
but that is something that they definitely kind of invested in, and maybe VR hasn't caught on as much as it should have done. So, I
I
don't
mean, it
know.
definitely, yeah. It definitely is in the early stages still. It's still, the resolution isn't great. I mean, they released the Vive Pro now, I believe, which has a much higher resolution, the display screen itself. So,
I
not
mean,
sure how that.
I'm encouraged. I'm more interested by things like Fallout 4 and Skyrim coming out on VR that
Yeah.
are fully fledged games rather than just experiences, or because everything that
Yeah.
comes out that seems to be this is only available on VR, it seems very gimmicky. It seems very kind of limited in terms of the scope and the
Yeah.
space of the game. So, I mean, the appeal of VR, I think, like viscerally or instinctively, is a virtual world. You want to go into another world where you can wander around like our world. And a lot
Hmm.
of these kind of VR experiences or VR only games are kind of the opposite of that. You'll tend to be, uh, you know, quite confined because of the nature of the way it's set up at the moment.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
when you have something like Fallout 4, which is a fleshed out alternate world, and then they try and make VR work with it, that seems to be more closer to what you imagine when you think
Right.
VR
Yeah.
could lead to this. So, yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah, that makes
definitely
sense.
don't have a big enough room to move around. That's the problem with the
Yeah, you
Vive.
can do it standing or sitting too,
Yeah.
um, if you have enough room there to like swing around your arms.
Oh, yeah,
That would
I
work
do
too.
that anyway. Just when I'm
Yeah.
playing
Well,
other
there you
games,
go.
I just swing my arms around. Like, way, this is fun.
Hey.
I like games.
Nice.
Well, I feel like we've talked about loads. Like,
We did, yeah.
I don't know, to like wrap up. Do you want to talk about like any plans for or YouTube stuff? Because we usually touch on that a little. If you've got any plans for like the near future with your channels that you want to talk about on the podcast?
I mean, not really. I mean, I talked about a bit with Tomb Raider, just trying this out now, trying to record games ahead of time until they're done and then releasing them. And just overall, I guess, like, take it a bit slower, like, be more chill.
Has that started rolling out for you now? Have you got videos coming out that were recorded a long while ago?
No,
That's
not yet.
not
Still
yet.
working on it.
Okay.
Rise of the Tomb Raider is the only one I've been trying that with so far, and
So
that's still.
the New Vegas ones you're still doing kind of quite timely, close to
Well, the New
uploading.
Vegas one I'm trying to backlog too.
Uh huh.
Um, like at least a couple of days, but not like, I'm not going to play through the entirety of New Vegas before uploading. That would be, I would start like next year. But yeah, I'm kind of like seeing New Vegas as like the long running game I have right now, just chipping away on that, having a ton of fun with that game,
Hmm.
just, casual playing it. And then have something on the side like Tomb Raider or something. Let that run out, and while it's running, record the next thing. There's a bunch I really want to get, and I said that last year, I think, was this the first where was our first podcast? I can't,
It's 6 months ago, isn't it? We've done one a month.
maybe, yeah. I feel like I think you and me talked about this once about New Year's resolution. I don't remember when we talked about that though. And maybe it was just in chat or something. But I was like thinking, I always wanted to do more point and click adventure games on my channel.
Right.
Because that's like my favorite genre. That's the one that got me into games really. And there's so many good point and click adventure games I want to play. So that's something probably I'll start doing and do the same thing of pre-recording everything until it's done and then releasing it because they're also like shorter games usually.
Yeah, and there's all the downsides of like not being able to kind of modify what you do in the next video that we've
Yeah.
talked about before. But the upside is that kind of you can know you've got some videos done and you can explore other games because I think like everyone starts YouTube with the best of intentions. Like I will just record the games that I play. That's going to be easy, pretty straightforward. Everything I play, I'll just put on a channel. And once you start doing that, you realize it doesn't quite work like that because recording is not the same as just playing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and um, I don't know. You start playing games and start thinking about, am I going to record this? Am I not going to record this? Blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah. It can affect the hobby in a way where you kind of lose sight of, I am primarily playing games for fun, not to make videos. So I think that's what I've discovered playing Doom now, because I've done, like you, loads of videos in advance, and then that just frees you up to say, well, I don't have to record anything. Let's just play
Mm-hmm.
something for fun, and you get the. I don't know, because you're a bit different to me in that I think you always say like I have this urge to record when I'm
Yeah.
playing, but sometimes I feel like if I record, I don't get the full experience. I'm a bit distracted. I don't get the kind of, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
glad I played like Doom without any intention to record, and only after finishing it thought, you know what, I'll do a playthrough and I'll record it. Because the first run through, it's a short game. Like you and I also have this problem where, like, why do we play these games that never end? Like we
Yeah.
play these either sandbox games that never end or games that take 40, 60 hours to complete.
Yeah.
If you were playing something shorter, you wouldn't have this problem.
For sure.
So it's no problem to like do a playthrough of Doom because it's, each level is maybe 30, 45 minutes and there's only
Mm-hmm.
13 levels. So you can kind of do that pretty quickly. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe I think my idea is just to be more intelligent about what I choose to record and find the fun in between find the fun in it all. Fun tube it's going to be from this
Yeah.
point on.
Fun tube. Yeah, I was actually thinking about that too. Of like, how do I even decide which game I want to record and which I don't? And I don't really have a system. It was really just like whatever I want to play, I'll record, and that leads into a lot of let's plays that I never finish. Because yeah, you're totally right. When you record something, it sometimes takes away the fun of it a bit.
Right.
Um, and I noticed that with Spider-Man now too. That's why I was like, I want to play Spider-Man, but I have to record, and I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much as I do right now. And I did feel guilty at first of like playing it on my own. Every time I was like, maybe I should record this. But after a while, I'm like, nah, it's fine. I'm glad I did this. I'm glad I just played this for myself. I needed that.
Yeah, and
Um,
if creating a load of videos in advance frees you up to feel
yeah,
that's okay, that's a good thing. But I know for a fact that almost every YouTuber who makes a living through YouTube, a gaming YouTuber, they all say I either play games for YouTube or I play them on my own time. They have a
yeah,
division between the two, and because there is something different, like when you're just playing it for yourself. I don't think there's any way around that really, apart from you can
no,
mess around with your schedule and how you do things. So you give yourself blocks of time where you can kind of like,
yeah.
this is my time. I don't have to record anything now. This is just for me.
And that's what I noticed with the Fallout New Vegas too. That's exactly it. Like having a day, like record several videos a day, and then not have to do it the next few days, where I can just focus on things I want to do, is really nice.
Yeah. So
And that's also the advantage of like pre-recording, I think, because like if you start a series and you record a couple of episodes, right, like 2, 3, whatever, you start releasing them. At this point, there is people expect you to release a video probably in whatever time frame you decided to release the previous one. So if you do one every day, people expect one every day.
Mm-hmm.
But you might just not feel like recording the next 2, 3 days, or not feel like playing that game, but you now kind of have to force yourself to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that just takes away so much of the fun. Whereas if you pre-record everything before even releasing, it doesn't matter if you play for a week and then don't play it for 2 weeks, because the videos don't exist yet. They're not out yet. You can take that break. There's no pressure at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just come back and play it again when you feel like it. Because I started Tomb Raider in August 7th or something.
Yeah.
That was a while ago. And I only have 23 episodes so far. But it's because, I had work in between stuff. And if I had to release that game right away, it would have been just an unfinished series again, sitting there, making me feel like shit because I haven't finished it or something. And now I can just take my time with it.
And it's just led to me searching out games and installing some of those games that I've been meaning to get around to, like Doom. If I can find some more stuff like that, that's just super fun.
Well, how about your thing? How about your YouTube feature? Speaking of pre-recording, how about your second channel?
What second channel?
Anything you want to talk about? What second channel?
You think I'm being secretive about my second channel? What about my? You don't even know about my third channel.
I do. I have seen it. I've seen those little videos. Very short, funny.
You've been clever.
Videos I don't get.
Yeah. Well, it's boring, mate. It's boring.
It's not.
Well, it's exactly the same as you're doing with your channel, really. It's just a second channel to do different kinds of games. That's all it is. It's
You're not good at selling yourself.
Yeah, and pre-recording everything and seeing if sticking to one type of game makes a difference. So just strategy games, specifically Games Workshop games, because I like painting, so I can play the games and paint the models. And it's really there just to see if anyone finds it and anyone likes it. See what YouTube does when you don't kind of give it anything other than what it's supposed to naturally do, which is be a video search engine.
I don't think it's going to do much.
No, I don't think
unfortunately. So. Yeah, it's a bit sad. How do you like... Cause, oh, sorry, what?
No, 2 people have found it so far, organically.
Oh, yeah.
But apart from yourself.
Yeah, well...
And it doesn't seem to kick off from that. Like the first guy kind of was watching, and I could see that he was watching all the videos. So it's pretty good for a channel that only has like one person watching it. It has pretty good watch time because he's watched them all. It's like, holy shit, this guy's watching all of these videos.
Hardcore fan.
But and then another person seemed to be doing the same thing. But it's like you would think, okay, is YouTube monitoring this? Because if one person's watched it and watched all the videos, what's the YouTube algorithm think about that? Maybe we should promote it to more people. Maybe more people would do that.
Like percentage?
No, nothing.
That's interesting.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll keep you updated.
But yeah, I was gonna ask, like, how long does it take you to paint one of those figurines, the ones you've done so far?
Sometimes a couple of days. It depends how complicated you get with it. So
because when I was watching it, I was like, oh, it would be cool to see like a time lapse or something, but it probably would take like forever.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It would be difficult to set that up because you record. I'm definitely doing it just at the end of a day when I want to chill. So go getting the camera and recording it.
No, forget that. Takes away the fun again.
And you have to I watch videos for tips. Like there's some really good people doing that kind of thing, but they're really good painters. I'm not a good painter, so it's like,
I don't know. It looked amazing to me.
Well, people are always really polite, but it's not good. It's like when you see good painting, you can see how good these guys are.
I don't know.
They're amazing.
I was good. I was like looking. It's like, oh, let's see if he like drew like into other parts of it by accident or something. But no, it looked really clean. You had these like cool details on the code at the back on a vampire hunter dude, whatever his name was.
Well, trust me, I can't put up the kind of videos that are tutorial videos, so it'll just be.
Oh well, yeah, that's fine. You can still be good without tutorials.
No,
if it was me,
go on.
If it was me, I would take that figurine and dump it in a bucket of paint, and then it's done. No, probably not. I would probably try to, but I don't think I have the patience to do it.
Have you never painted like miniatures or done any painting?
No, I don't think I have. I had miniatures, but I always I always left them uncolored. Just a good old grey color.
I've been doing that since I was a little kid.
Nice.
Yeah. Have you never thought of doing like another YouTube channel that's a little bit more kind of, this is what I've been doing when I'm not playing games or anything like that, or anything with your like significant other?
Not really, because really the only thing I'm not really not doing anything other than playing games and recording them.
And making games.
Making games for work, yeah,
yeah,
but not on my own anymore. So it's really that only. I don't know what else I would record. I mean, my girlfriend did have her own channel at one point when she did like toy reviews, and we tried like gaming stuff together, like the Dark Souls series.
I remember listening to one video together, but I can't remember what game it was that you were playing at the time.
But I'm not sure. I don't think I would really have anything else. If there was a third channel, it would just be again a gaming one, probably with specific genre, like point and click adventure games only or something, but I don't know if I want to handle a third channel.
I don't know. I mean, once I set them up, it's just like switch account. You're just jumping from one set, once they're set up, they almost like, I mean, I'm not doing anything with them, so maybe that's why they don't take any managing. I'm just looking at stats.
Yeah.
But it's not as complicated as I thought it would be.
Right, it's not. For me, it's mostly that I watch videos on my main channel, so I don't want to switch to my secondary channel and upload stuff, because then I can't watch the videos I would like to watch. So I usually have it in like an incognito browser window.
What toy reviews was she doing?
Well, she used to work at Toys R Us, so she was surrounded by stuff, and she's super into the Minions, and a lot of the things she reviewed was Minions, but also some other things like some electric dinosaurs and that kind of stuff.
Some of my favorite stuff to watch on YouTube is kind of toy reviews and people who are really into like a specific thing. Like it almost sometimes doesn't matter what the thing is. I just like people who are really enthusiastic about a thing. I don't know, they'll be into like say Minions toys or something, and they've got like 50 videos about Minions toys, and I'll watch all those.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Okay, everybody, thank you for listening to episode 6. We are sure it's episode 6, aren't we? Whatever episode this is, it's 6. If Serious Creeper says it's 6, then it's 6.
My word is law.
Yes, and quite scary law. When you do it in that voice. Like I am the law. I am the law. All right, and we have been Serious Creeper and Napiet. Check out Serious Creeper's channel. It's awesome, and there are 2 of them. If you type them into Google, you will find them. And also, you type in Napiet into Google, you will find mine as well.
Which is also very awesome.
Yeah, thank you. And I don't know why you've listened to this, but well done. We don't have anything to offer you.
Don't be like that.
Apart from thanks.
I need to change your attitude about this.
And thanks and gracious apologies for all our rambling. Any final thoughts?
No apologies. I don't apologize for anything.
Good for you.
I am proud of what we ramble about here.